Good evening,
Hallo.
guten Abend.
Guten Abend.
Bonsoir. Willkommen, bonsoir im Institut français Stuttgart. Ich freue mich, Sie virtuell heute zu empfangen für die Eröffnung der Ausstellung der Karlsruher Künstlerin Hannah Cooke, die heute eigentlich auch als Moderatorin für diese Eröffnung wirken wird. Es ist die erste Ausstellung in der langjährigen Reihe Retour de Paris, die wir seit Paris zeigen. Und wir sind sehr, sehr erfreut, dass Hannah Cooke sich wirklich für ihre Präsentation ein Konzept für unsere Vitrine überlegt hat, wie sie ihre Arbeit zeigen kann. Denn wie Sie es vielleicht jetzt im Laufe der Zeit wahrnehmen werden, das Institut liegt wirklich im Herzen Stuttgarts. Und wir haben eine lange Vitrine und das ist das Schöne in dieser Pandemiezeit, dass die Arbeiten noch von außen zu sehen sein werden und dies noch bis 26. März. Die Ausstellung wird ermöglicht und da muss ich ganz herzlich danken, das Ministerium für Wissenschaft, Forschung und Kunst Baden-Württemberg, der die Reihe Retour de Paris fördert, die auch die Künstler in Paris in den Atelier in der Cité des Arts einlädt. Und diese Stipendiaten dürfen dann, wenn sie zurück in Deutschland sind, in Stuttgart, in Karlsruhe, in Freiburg ihre Arbeiten zeigen. Ich bin schon soweit. Ich übergebe schon das Wort an die Künstlerin Hannah Cooke und an die freie Kuratorin Didem Yazıcı, die uns einfach mehr über die Arbeiten sagen wird und in den 20 nächsten Minuten durch die Ausstellung führen wird. Vielen Dank und schönen Abend.
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön. Vielen Dank, Johanne Mazeau-Schmid. Here I'm going to switch the language because we will have people from different parts of the world who are watching us. And thank you again for the introduction. And of course, the team of Institut français in Stuttgart. And of course, more importantly, to the artist, Hannah Cooke. This is the reason why we are online at the moment for her exhibition. Thank you for having me on board.
Yeah, thank you for joining the team, Didem.
Pleasure. So tonight we try to give a feeling of an exhibition opening as much as we can through conversations and also through video documentations and a virtual tour through the exhibition. Before we look at the exhibition, I would like to speak with Hannah Cooke about the exhibition. I would like to remind everyone that Hannah Cooke did this exhibition based on her residency in Cité des Arts, Paris. And it was a quite unusual time to be in an artist residency in spring 2020, when the pandemic was at the peak moment. And despite all these limitations, Hannah, you managed to make this exhibition and create at least 2 artworks that we will see tonight. And you even planned to make an outdoor exhibition during the pandemic in Paris, collectively with the other artists who had the residency in Cité des Arts. But then it became a collective performance, which we will also see later on tonight. So tonight we will see 2 video. To give an introduction also, tonight we will see 2 video pieces. One is the exhibition experience, exhibition tour, and the second will be the performance. So Hannah, please tell us how was it for you to be in an artist residency during pandemic for you and your family? And perhaps you can also tell us how you turned these limitations into something productive.
Yeah, thank you, Didem, for this nice introduction. So the Cité residency was actually my first residency ever, and also being in France half a year was quite interesting for me. I was there with my family, so that's also different if you go there when you're single and all by your own. So there were many conditions which were kind of special for an art residency. But of course, the lockdown was very an up and down, I would say. So it was quite good that we were in this system, or we had this great frame of the Cité where we were able to meet in the parking lot with the other residents. But of course, there were conditions where we couldn't do our exhibition, which we planned to do outside in front of the Cité in this book box. So we weren't allowed to go outside of the Cité for more than 1 hour. And so, yeah, it was impossible to do an exhibition altogether. But nevertheless, we tried to find a way to express ourselves. So that's why we came up with the exhibition, or not exhibition, but the performance circle of influence, where we draw the circles in the parking lot of the Cité. I think it's quite extraordinary that we were able to work in a collective under the very strict lockdown conditions. So it was very tough, but also good that we were in this institution together. So we were able to do something together, and meet each other in the parking lot.
Mm. Yeah. No, it sounds like that it was a quite paradoxical situation. Paris, to live in the city, to create, to get inspired, and then all of a sudden you are in a situation that you can't even visit other residency artist studio because it's not okay, which is of course absolutely reasonable. What I would like to add is that although these limitations, this parking lot situation gave a possibility to meet all of you, but I also remember when we spoke earlier, you really described well around where the Cité des Arts, the location, it's in downtown, and it's just by the river. And then you were telling me how the homeless people were actually allowed to sleep in front of the institution, and this book boxes. I think it's a very also specific to Paris. These wooden platforms. So I'm very amazed how you were inspired these elements that are surrounded in the residency, because it became kind of like a little universe.
Yeah, absolutely. It became a little universe. So you go into the Cité all the time, you go past these book boxes, which are very pretty and unusual and very specific for Paris. So you see them all over the River Seine on the river wall. And there they sell books and antiques and paintings. And so first we wanted to do an exhibition in Cité buildings. First we wanted to do it in the Villa Radé, which is a real big, beautiful villa in Paris. And then they said we couldn't have it because it's somehow too difficult or booked out or whatever. And so Cité didn't allow us to exhibit in any places they own. And didn't make it possible to have an exhibition in Paris in their rooms. So we decided, okay, then we do it on our own. And we were in love with these book boxes. So we thought, okay, we go there, have the book box, and have an exhibition inside of the book box. So it wasn't possible to rent one of the book boxes because it's run by the city of Paris and there's a long waiting list for people, and so it wasn't possible to do it in an original book box. And then we decided, okay, then we build our own book box. So we built our own book box and planned the whole exhibition, that we have a group exhibition first, and then every week we have a solo exhibition and everyone can join for the openings. And then we noticed, okay, the pandemic is also touching us. Now it's coming also to Paris or Germany, to Europe. And we were already expecting that there will be some way of restriction to it, that we can't move as free as we would like to, and that the exhibition could be in danger. So we knew that Macron will give a talk or a speech this night, or the night, I don't know, the day after. So we knew somehow there will be the restrictions open to public. And we thought, okay, we just need to take this book box once, put it on the wall of the River Seine, to just see it sitting there once, at least once. And so we have also a video documentation of this funeral, I don't know how to say it, because the box looks like a big coffin, and the collective is carrying this book box to the River Seine. It's like 2 minutes, it's right in front of Cité. Yeah, and so we did this walk with the book box, put it on the wall, opened it, took a group photograph to remember the moment, and then we closed it again and brought it back to Cité. Yes, so it really, someone of the collectors said it felt like burying the public space, actually. It was a really emotional moment for all of us. And the day after, or in the evening, Macron said that there will be the strict lockdown, like you can only go outside for 1 hour each day. You always need to carry your certificate where you fill in what's the reason for going out. And of course, police was always very present in Paris at this time, because also die Gelbwesten, the yellow vests, had the big demonstrations, and police was going up and down. But also during lockdown, you couldn't hear as much police sirens anymore, but you could notice that there is a lot of police that are checking you, and they go up with boats, the River Seine, so you weren't allowed to move at the river anymore, which was, of course, one of the loveliest parts to have a walk in downtown Paris. There is not much green parks or anything, so everything was closed, and you weren't allowed to go out anymore, and that was quite special. And I was 2 months in lockdown situation in Paris, but we had this great opportunity to somehow just open our atelier doors and be outside. And spring was coming, so we sat there with all the other residents, first in a big circle with the right distance, and then further and further the distance was less and less, of course. But it wasn't inside of this really strange pandemic. It was a very nice place to be at Cité, I must say. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. What I really like is that you often spoke as we, and I think this is very interesting because you were there as an individual artist with your family, and then this whole institutional limitations and all that, it really turned into a very process-based work. But before speaking more, now that it's also 6:15, I would like to now invite everyone to walk into the exhibition, at least digitally with us, to look at the works of Hannah Cooke, and that you will also hear then me voicing the text that I wrote, inspired by Hannah's work. And then we will continue speaking. and then we will see the performance video. We would also like you to please comment and ask any questions in any language. I know wir haben Zuschauer aus Deutschland, aus der Türkei, Englisch. Lütfen sorularınız olursa Türkçe de yazabilirsiniz, aber gerne auch Deutsch. So I think wir sind hier ein bisschen dreisprachig. So Facebook'a yorum yazabilirsiniz. You can leave your comments on Facebook. So let's look at the exhibition.
Thank you, Didem. Okay, 1 second.
When you step into a new room for the first time, to visit, to make art in it, or to live in it, for instance, as an artist residency, how do you experience and recognize the memory of the space? Can a space be neutral? Can an institution be transparent? What faces did the walls and curtains of this old room see before the artist came in here? Were these faces tired, angry, joyful, or excited? In her poem, The Hill We Climb, the poet Amanda Gorman made a powerful statement. She wrote, "For a while, we have our eyes on the future. History has its eyes on us." Hannah Cooke lived in downtown Paris in an artist studio for 6 months and began to think with the spirit and the life experiences of the space. The history of the space had its eyes on her. First, she began to look at the curtain that were covering the high windows. Then she took it down, washed it, not to wash away the dirt of the past, but to give a new life to it. She then repaired the broken parts, not making it new, but being inspired by the ancient Japanese tradition of kintsugi, similar to repairing broken pottery by filling in gold. Slowly she took the curtain in her hands, touched, repaired, and sewed it. It was spring 2020, the first lockdown, the times when people feared to come closer, to look into each other's eyes, to walk on the same sidewalk, to talk to one another, and especially to touch. But the artist studio in Paris had something to offer. Right outside of the space, there was a backyard, a piece of fresh air. The artist Hannah Cooke began to sew on the curtain, carefully witness everyday life moments, as a foreigner in this town. From little mouses to the remaining candles from the birthday of her daughter, the alarming blue lights of the police cars that had dominant presence in the streets of Paris. The curtain became a mind map, a diary, a poetry of contradictions, and simplicity of everyday life and its politics. As a result, it became the Uncurtain. At the same time, the curtain opened another window, a window for genuine collectivity, which led to another piece of artwork that began with an exhibition idea, transformed into an installation of a book box, and an intervention in public space in the shape of a bookinist box, then found its final shape as a collective performance, and now continues its life as a video piece, Circle of Influence. While the artist was spending time in the backyard, that was almost like an extension of her studio, only a few steps away from her working and living space, other artists from the residency, colleagues, companions, and comrades, joined her and her family in this freedom of coming together in an open air under the lockdown conditions. This way, a group of artists gathered, speaking the same language in the same space. The performance, Circle of Influence, was born out of a necessity to deal with the institutional and social limitations, to think together, to come together despite the restrictions of COVID-19. The comfort of staying in your own circle, but being aware of the presence of the others and sharing the same space. A playful way of coming together. Jean Bach, Claudia Barcheri, Hannah Cooke, Imo Aiza, Pablo Geraton, Hun Jin Kim, Philipp Lange, Dominik Rinhofer, Jakub Jimjik, Katinka Theis, and Lukas Zerbst. Circle of Influence is an outcome of openness, discursiveness, and processes, an intention of a group exhibition. It's a conversation piece. It's claiming your own space while experiencing togetherness. They told you you cannot visit each other's studios. They told you cannot come together. They told you cannot open an exhibition. But here we are now. Rebecca Solnit's essay, Grounds for Hope, begins with these following words. Your opponents would love you to believe that it's hopeless, that you have no power, that there is no reason to act, that you can't win. Hope is a gift you don't have to surrender, a power that you don't throw away. And though hope can be an act of defiance, defiance isn't enough reason to hope. But there are good reasons. Hannah, thank you, and all the other artists from the performance collective, showing us that there are still good reasons.
So.
Yes, so this was our modest attempt to provide everyone an exhibition experience. Of course, I want to also remind that the exhibition is actually on view on the, as you see, window displays in Stuttgart. So if you live in Stuttgart or if you're around, you can just walk in front of the street and see these two pieces. Hannah,
Yes.
I have few more questions that I would love to hear from you about these works. But first of all, maybe the idea about the video, because it is a challenge. There is the pandemic. The exhibition spaces in Germany are closed. But as artists, you keep doing art. And as audience, everyone, we want to see art. And it was your idea actually to make this video, and you invited me to write a text about the work. And also to give a talk, and then there was the decision of making this video. So can you tell us about this decision-making process?
Yeah, so this Retour de Paris exhibition is for everyone who went to Paris. And of course, usually the exhibition takes place when you get back to Germany, like half a year later. But with COVID-19, it wasn't able to do the exhibition right away. But it was like 1 year later now. So yeah, last year at this time I was in Paris. So it was already delayed, and I didn't want to move the exhibition any further from my Paris stay. So because the work responds to COVID-19 and lockdown conditions and everything, so I really wanted to do the exhibition despite the restrictions right now, so that you can't really have an exhibition where people can join and can come together. So that was quite fortunate that the Institut français in Stuttgart have these great windows where you can look inside and have this huge displays. And of course, with my curtain, it belongs inside of a window. So somehow it fits quite well for me. And you can not go inside, but I prepared everything so that you can see from outside in the exhibition, like it's inside of the windows. And with the voiceover you wrote, which I really love, Didem, somehow I thought it's good to have this video, this virtual Rundgang exhibition tour, to have something also for the future, to look back, to document well, if people can't come to Stuttgart and see it. I just saw that there is one question of Elena. Yeah, I will put it on the display.
Yes.
Hannah, what is the most important experience or knowledge you have gained as an artist during the lockdown? I think especially being inside of this residency, it was being in discourse and discussion with other artists. I think that was like to reflect also on the certain conditions. And I mean, you always hear you have to do the best out and you will experience new ways, and you know, everyone tries to put the positive side on COVID-19, but it's a really stupid and disgusting situation. And but as a group, I think we managed to somehow deal with the situation better. And I think that is something I learned not only during my Paris time, how important work in groups and collectives is. Also maybe just for me, I don't know, it's not for everyone, because every collective has its ups and downs and it's not always easy, but in the end I'm really happy that we've all met in Paris and that we did this work together, and it was really important for me.
Actually, I would like to add something here,
Yes.
which will lead to the next step. And thank you for your question, Elena Frickman, who is also a curator. Greetings to you, Elena, and thank you for your interest. But this actually, your question brings me to the next step, because this collectivity, I think, is extremely special. Why? Because I think the corona situation is encouraging everyone to be more and more selfish, self-centric, and individual. So I find this like how you dealt with the situation, this with limitations, with not being able to visit each other's studio, and of course you were in a privileged situation also, because most of the artists didn't have any exhibition, didn't have any residency too.
Yes.
And this in a residual situation, I want to highlight, it's not really common to come together and make a collective work. Also, the contemporary condition is encouraging individuality. So can you speak more, Hannah, about this collective moment? How it came together, and your dinners. I imagine you had dinners, and when the weather allowed you.
Yeah, so first, of course, I went to Paris in November, so the weather was awful and I didn't know anybody. But after New Year's Eve, it changed, and somehow I met more and more people, and we invited us for dinners and talked about our art, which was very inspiring, and also to know that you speak like the same language, not German, but the same artistic language, and that you think about certain things in the same way. That was quite important for me. And I mean, I worked in a lot of collectives. I worked in a feminist collective and with other people together in different ways. And somehow, for me, it always comes naturally. I can't really tell why, but I think I would like to see this ego genius type of artist to fall. Of course, now my name is also big outside on the window, but I don't know, somehow I want to have this changed, actually, to be more collective, because I think that certain things can be done only when you work together and you have more power. And I think, of course, all of us who were there in the residency worked on their own projects, but I think for all of us it was really important to work as a collective, to think about the situation and do something with it. There is another question. I put it on the monitor, Didem. Maybe you can read it.
Yes, this is from Turkey, coming from Turkey. Hannah, sanatsal yaratıcılığınızı tetikleyen en önemli unsurlarınız nelerdir? Örneğin bir işinizi. So the question is, what inspires you as an artist in general? What are the things that triggers you? For example, can a poem be inspiration for you?
I would say yes, everything could be, but I think most important for me is the things that annoy me in daily life, like a situation where I think it can't be true that it is that way. So I have one work where I'm really annoyed about how mother artists are perceived in the art world, so that it's also as macho as the rest of the world. There were like crazy comments of female artists that you can't be an artist and a mother at the same time. And this was, so it was a comment by Marina Abramovic and Tracy Emin. And I read this having my 8-month-old Ada, my daughter, and I was so annoyed that I had to do something about it. And so I made this video work, Ada versus, which you can see a snippet on my website, just to have a statement against certain structures in the art world. I think that from my further works, that was always a big topic, to somehow the hierarchy and the of the art world, like certain structures I really want to tease a little and annoy a little, and I hope I could answer your question.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Hannah. I wonder if I should translate into Turkish. So Türkçe'ye çevirmemi isterseniz cevabı lütfen yazın. Kısaca çevirebilirim Türkçe'ye. So I could do a brief translation to Turkish if needed for the answer. But this is of course, I think, as an artist, the topics, that the social issues that triggers you, or
Yes.
to read something that is annoying, and that is when you're in the situation as an even individual, and that you feel that deep down there is something not right about this, or I don't quite agree with that, and I think there is a moment to perhaps a certain creativity which comes from you. I think this is actually very touching that you had your daughter with you when you're reading this, and of course it's quite and this is coming from a quite a patriarchal structure.
Yes.
We have been also speaking about this recently, like how women, to survive in the outer world meaning school, meaning working environment, public space, in order to survive, I think that the women are programmed to think like a man, to act like a man, to be like a man. And this is misunderstood as being strong, as being powerful, to associate this rejection of your womanhood or rejection of your inner self, because you can be a transsexual, and so it doesn't, it's you can be anything, but the rejection of this to cut, no, I can't be a mother because I'm an artist, or I cannot be a mother because I have to keep making exhibition, this kind of limitation is actually very oppressive. And as long as you participate in it, I don't think this is encouraging feminism. Also, this is almost deconstructive. So I would also like to encourage everyone who's watching us at the moment, please go on Hannah Cooke's website and please look at her beautiful works where she's dealing with Tracy Emin and Marina Abramovic's statements. I really like the witness on your work. But I also want to mention about Atto Black. You can also, there is a group called Atto Black, and you can, if you like to also support and buy a piece of an artwork from Hannah, you can go to the website of Atto Black. You can perhaps tell more about Atto Black, Hannah, also how it functions.
So Atto.black is the website, and it formed out of HFG, so Hochschule für Gestaltung Karlsruhe. Norina Quinte is like the brain of Atto, I would say, who started the whole thing, and she wanted to also change like the gallery system or how you purchase or perceive art, and so they started this platform where you can discover a new artist and also buy or support their work, and it works a little like a gallery, but on a very transparent and eye-to-eye level. So that's what I really like, and that's why I also joined Atto Black, to have another platform where I can show my art. But always when we talk together, what work we will put on the platform, it's always on a very on eye level. I really like it. It's not like the usual gallery commercial system, where everything is very intransparent, and that's what I like about Atto. Yeah.
Hannah, I have a last question.
Yes.
And then we can watch the video performance.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something very interesting. I think you said that it was your first residency, and you, as a German artist, you have been living in Germany and producing here, and I understand that it was first time for you to live in another country, to live in another culture. I mean, France is not so far away, of course, especially from Karlsruhe.
I lived in Amsterdam for half a year during Erasmus, but it's even closer to Germany, I think.
Yeah. But I want to ask you, how was it for you to experience this moment for the first time? I mean, I guess Erasmus in Netherlands could be a different experience, but as an artist especially, to be a foreigner all of a sudden, plötzlich Ausländer, I guess.
I think,
like how did it?
I think that this experience is also bound to my being there with my family, because when I would have come there single and joined the Cité, I would be in this whole Cité bubble, and I wouldn't have had contact to to, how do you say, beachte?
Mhm.
So to the city. So, for example, I needed to find childcare. So I went to the Rathaus council. Is it council? Yeah, and it's totally different if you are a foreigner and have to deal with the structures, the state structures, and don't speak the language, but have to somehow find your way to get there where you want to get. And I think if you go to Cité as single and you're in this bubble, you're always easy to, in this art world, everyone speaks English. So even in France, where you always have this cliche of that they won't talk English, it's not true anymore. Especially in the art world, everyone talks English. So I think it's not... it's a difference if you go there with a family and have to organize and live your life as a family in a new city where you don't speak the language. Yeah, my public servants, I was just told. Ja. Birgit Reich hat noch einen Kommentar. Reacting to your answer, don't you sometimes feel tired that circumstances always force you again and again to react on the refusal and energies against you as a representation of the artist type you want to be, female, conceptual, and now it's gone.
And a mother.
And a mother. Yes, of course, I feel tired. Of course, but I think if things need to, if you want things to change, then you have to somehow discuss them over and over again, and the system is not yet the way I want it to be. So of course, I don't know, somehow it's tiring and annoying, but also it gives me more Futter. It also Reibungsfläche. Sometimes you need an opponent to do work, and you need to struggle. I hate this image of the struggling artist to do good work, but somehow there's also truth in it. Yes, if everything would be sunny sunshine, then I think art wouldn't be that interesting, maybe. It would be beautiful, but probably not that interesting.
I think, Hannah, what I like the most about your work, also referring to Birgit Reich's question too, this kind of, I understand this kind of like social issues also put the artist in a Schubladen, or like in English, to put you in a boxes, okay, like kind of as a female, as a mother, as a conceptual artist, to kind of being angry, like to certain things. But what I like about your work is that your work is able to transform this anger into something witty. I mean, I think when I look at your work, I see the conceptual thinking background, and there is something always like kind of funny or comical. I have seen, I mean, when I go to your website and look at the previous work that you do, this I remember this work that you're like lying on a bed and you have the portraits of this kind of power art people. There's always this kind of, I mean, even with like Tracy Emin and Marina Abramov's work,
Of
like,
course. Yeah. I don't want to take them like too really serious. I want to show the structures, but I want to also somehow laugh at them a little, or to make a little fun of it, because everything is so frustrating. I need a little bit of humor inside of my work to, otherwise it would be like awful to do this work. I don't know. I really need a little fun, and I don't take things too serious.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is your artistic approach, and this is, I think, something special. There are artists who just work artwork out of boredom, not being triggered by social things, about personal. Also, artists who deal with political issues, and they are really making a serious work. And I think this is also with art. It's a language, and that's, as long as it's self-governing, I think as long as a Hannah Cooke, that you are the decision maker of what I'm going to do, or how I'm going to do, the aesthetics. I mean, for example, we are now looking at the curtain work right in the middle.
From
I
the
mean,
back.
it's
you can see all the threads.
Yeah, from the back. and that's right. And this kind of this, I always thought it's like a sketch, like when also in the text I said it works like a mind map, that just everyday life things that are surrounded you. Just, it's simple, but it's still like a very,
it's a diary.
Yeah, beautiful.
For me, it's like a memory, a diary. And sitting there during lockdown in the in the parking lot and sewing, and somehow people come by, join me, drink a cup of tea, I can stitch. It's a really very communicative way of working, which I didn't experience because I didn't stitch before that curtain. I don't know. So it was kind of interesting how this whole process was not so isolated. Like when I work on a video or a photograph or preparing something in my studio, it can be very lonely. And with this curtain, somehow also being inside of this residency, it was a very social and communal experience for me. Yeah. Didem, shall we move over to the video? What do you think?
Yes, I was going to ask you how long, because there are different versions of the video. How long?
It's about 6 or 7 minutes, and the live stream will end after the video. So
okay,
maybe we say thank you right now for joining our live stream, that you participated, and also for the questions you gave. And thank you, Didem, very much for your support, and yes, for everything you've done for this exhibition.
Pleasure, Hannah.
And also, of
pleasure
course,
always.
Thank you to the Institut and Johanne and Mathilde, who supported me for the exhibition.
Yes, thank you, Hannah. Without you, without the artist, we wouldn't be here. And of course, thank you also, everyone watching us at the moment. And of course, if you have any questions after watching the video piece, also please comment under Facebook so we can continue the conversation at least. And so now we continue with the performance piece.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.